Allow me to put my fingers together like a supervillain and say, just as I planned it. Because the only way to win now, if you're splitting the Dane County vote and if you're splitting the Milwaukee area vote, is get in the car and come talk to the rest of us up here.
Pat, let's go to the governor's race. On your show this morning, exclusively a great get. Francesca Hong, state representative here in Madison, represents most of the isthmus of the northeast side of Madison, announced her gubernatorial race this morning on your show. She calls herself a wild card.
Yeah, because, underdog is, I guess Jesse O'Point must have asked her that from the Journal Sentinel. And she said, wild card is better than underdog. And look, what we've got in this race right now is in Francesca Hong is we've got, shall we say, candor, somebody who's going to call it as she sees it. It has been during her relatively short time in the state assembly, but she has made herself very well known because she does not play the, go along to get along kind of thing. If she thinks that something's wrong, she's going to say it's wrong. If she thinks something is baloney, she's going to call it a word other than baloney. And what she said on the show today was that, this is a time for bold ideas. And look, all the candidates who are in right now, the top 4 Democratic candidates are solid progressives and Democrats, but in terms of the tone that they're going to take and the strategy that they're going to take to try to win over votes, they will not be cookie cutter going forward.
As a former Democratic state legislator, Pat, give me your view on this. My opinion as a former Republican is, politically speaking, probably makes it the toughest on Sara Rodriguez with this announcement, because in Milwaukee, the 2 biggest Democratic counties, biggest vote getters are Dane, where Madison is at, and Milwaukee County. And county executive David Crowley in Milwaukee has announced the mayor there, Kelda Johnson, has endorsed him. That kind of solidifies Milwaukee County in a certain way, in my opinion. Now in Dane, now you have it split between State Senator Kelda Roys, State Representative Francesca Hong. It was seen that Lieutenant Governor Sara Rodriguez now, her big place to get votes is going to be all the outstate Democrats, which is harder and more expensive to get.
I know, but allow me to put my fingers together like a supervillain and say, just as I planned it. Because the only way to win now, if you're splitting the Dane County vote and if you're splitting the Milwaukee area vote, is get in the car and come talk to the rest of us up here. And that's exactly what these candidates have been doing and what they have to do now. They can no longer put something in their back pocket. David Crowley can't put Milwaukee in his back pocket with Sara Rodriguez there. Kelda Roys can't put Madison in her back pocket with Fran there. And so they've got to get out and about like crazy for the next 11 months. I thoroughly believe that they will. They're going to run into crowds, some of whom are, as dyed-in-the-wool Democrats as you would find in Dane or Milwaukee County. And it's going to be tempting to think, okay, well, a far left message is what's going to help me win the primary. And then they're going to go talk someplace else. Then they're going to be reminded that there's a whole lot of other Wisconsin that does not want things to go too far to the left or too far to the right. And so some of these candidates are going to specialize in taking a more moderate path, seeing that as the ultimate, key to success. Others are going to say, nope, you got to go big and bold. And I am here for all of it. I think it's going to be a great primary.
And Trigby Olson, I'll let you speak for yourself, but you've said on this program before, the 2 Democrats you said that would not be willing to go knock on doors for were Lieutenant Governor Sara Rodriguez and State Senator Kelda Roys, because they've done exactly what Pat has said, which has gotten to places outside of Madison and Milwaukee.
Yeah, 100%. I'll have to be knocking on a lot of doors. I'd prefer to do that up somewhere in St. Croix County, though.
I bet they'd let you do that.
I'd be of more use. Actually, in the Democratic primary, though, in St. Croix County, I might not be of any use. I might be counterproductive. So there's that. So maybe I need to do it somewhere where I'm not known.
But politically, Trigby, although we're former Republican, you know this state well politically. Yeah. And what's your opinion on the early we're over, well, I guess under a year from the primary next fall. But what do you think of the makeup so far on the Democratic side?
I mean, as I said to somebody who asked me one time about Democratic primaries, I don't know a lot about winning Democratic primaries. If it were a Republican primary, I could probably tell you a thing or two, but not a Democrat one. But what I would say is they have a bunch of diverse voices that are going to be, and they're getting more candidates all the time. That actually is not a bad thing. Yes, it's less consolidation and whatever. But Democrats need to have a lot of voices traveling around the state, showing who they are, showing that they're not just they're not the stereotype that Republicans and MAGA are trying to make them into, that they're not out crossing the state saying we need, trans athletes playing at every level or whatever, I mean, a million different things like that they're going to be talking about issues like University of Wisconsin system, the Wisconsin idea, how that's the heart and soul of communities like the Fox River Valley with Green Bay, or my hometown of River Falls, or Pat in the Chippewa Valley, or the Cooley region, right? Like they need people talking about high school, about public school funding. They need people talking about environmentalism and protecting our environment so that we have places to go deer hunting. And they're going to have people that are doing that. And hopefully they can stay away from the attacks on each other and really not get dragged into, and this is funny because I'm a consultant and I have a plane to catch when you have a problem, Pat, but, or Todd, but the truth is, hopefully instead of attacking each other, they can stay really, really focused on talking about the issues that matter and let the cards fall where they may in terms of who is the ultimate nominee.
And just to clean up your comments, I know what you meant, Trigby, but just in case people are listening, you're not saying on the trans athlete issue, you're not saying that's what the Democratic platform is. You're saying that's what Republicans and MAGA are going to try to brand them as.
Well, I mean, those ads are already, they're running them again. They're running them. Abigail Spanberger. I mean, I do have some insights into what their playbook's going to be for governor's races, because I'm sitting here watching one in Virginia. They got Winston Earl Sears, who she could give Tom Tiffany or Derek Van Orton a run for their money. Abby Spanberger literally was a decorated CIA agent. And I don't know her, but I know of her from people that I know that were in that line of work. She had a sterling reputation, and literally all they've got is saying that she's going to be letting trans athletes be playing in Virginia sports across the country.
I was going to say,
across the state.
The most valuable words.
Ridiculous.
The most valuable words any Democratic candidate can have for the next, year plus is "there you go again." And then say, we're not here to talk about the fact that, health insurance costs are being jacked up, grocery prices haven't come down, and so forth and so on. You stick to that and don't get knocked off your game by that same divisive ridiculousness, then they're going to be okay.
We're talking with Pat Kreitlow of Mornings with Pat Kreitlow every morning from 6 until 9 across the network, and Trygve Olsen, Senior Advisor at the Lincoln Project.